Well, it's always a major that we tend to take the papers as a start off of Viewpoint on Atlantic TV. And today will be no different from the ritual we usually do. And for review today is 7 papers. We have The Punch, The Guardian, The Vanguard, ThisDay. We'll definitely have Daily Trust, Daily Sun, as much as we'll be looking at the Nigerian Tribune. But anyway, I awesomely like to start with The Punch, and let's see what it has on its front page. On The Punch this morning, the lead story reads, Post-primary chaos worsen as INEC faces candidate submission deadline. Is a major one on the major part of The Punch this morning, and you can get more of that story up on page 2. Let's see if we take all that lady one. National Assembly will pass state police bill this week, said Senate leader. And leading up that story should be on page 19. Nigerian foreign debt to hit 72.6 billion United States dollars after 2027 polls. And this is according to the International Monetary Fund. And remember, we'll be looking at this later critically, as we'll be talking about that report being released by the IMF just yesterday. But anyway, I'll grab a copy of The Punch. Page 9 has that story. Also on page 9, Elumelu appointed chairman of Seplat Energy. It's, like I said, it's a major one right there. And, well, I doubt if every other story would be there, but what is taking a larger chunk of the Punch newspaper this morning is the official commissioning of the arterial road number 5 of the Obafemi Awolowo Way from Lifecamp Junction to RR3, Dape District section. And then, you know, it looks as if it's a whole lot of commissioning of FCT roads we're having just this week alone. But anyway, that commissioning will take place today, and that'll be around 12 noon. And well, anyway, the FCT minister seems to be welcoming or indeed inviting all Nigerians to partake in the commissioning. That will be done by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But anyway, that's as much we can take from The Punch.
Let's check out stories making around on The Guardian newspaper. And on The Guardian, the leading story reads, From Stove to Smoke. Wow. Household ration swapped to charcoal as cooking gas record 67% spike. I hope we are not going from fry pan to fire.
Well, anyway, I now understand why my neighbor's house is always bringing out. So I almost thought it was burning yesterday. But anyway, firewood seems to be the culprit.
Well, you can get that story on page 6. And still on the front page, court really threatening 2027 election timetable. INEC funds is on page 6. IMF backs Nigeria's reform progress, warns poverty, food insecurity may worsen. Just like I said, hope we are not going from frying pan to fire. Well, is major one on page 16. Senate to consider single term for president and governors after 2027 poll. You can get more of that on page 3. Well, let's see if we can get more of the leading stories on the front page. Well, there seems to be no other major than the official commissioning of arterial road number 5 of Obafemi Awolowo Way from Lifecamp Junction to RR3, the Pest Street section, which is happening today. Well, that is much we can take on The Guardian this morning.
Well, like I was coming, it was sunny already. So let's see whether the Daily Sun will have more brightness on its part. And on the Daily Sun, IGP deploys DIGs, orders to rescue your people's teachers on hot. Wow, come on. More than going to a month now. Anyway, others clamp down of unregistered concealed vehicle number plates. And you can place more of that story up on page 4. Federal government admit challenges, but insists Tinubu reforms working, least achievement. And more of that achievement is on page 6. Tinubu have plunged Nigeria into 200 trillion naira debt. This is according to Peter Obi. Oh, I'm just wondering how much I'm owing. But anyway, grab a copy of the Daily Sun. Page 18 has more of that story. Labour demands immediate renegotiation of minimum wage is also a major one on page 6. Well, anyway, just like other papers, it's more like commissioning today. Well, Papa Oyoyo will be held later around 12 noon at the Lifecamp area along Obafemi Awolowo Road, where there'll be a whole lot of commissioning. Well, anyway, that's the much we can take from the Dailies. So.
Still on Dailies, let's check out stories making around on Nigerian Tribune this morning. And on the Nigerian Tribune, let's take more of the leading story above the nameplates. Under my watch, 1,859 families have accessed 128 billion naira for housing, says Tinubu. Is on page 2. Tony Elumelu appointed Seplat Energy chairman. Is on page 7. INEC fully recognizes Wike-backed PDP NWC. Is on page 14. Let's see if we can take some major ones on the front page. Just like others on dailies this morning, is none other than the commissioning of the arterial road number 5 of Obafemi Awolowo Way from Life Camp Junction to RR3, that Dakpe Street section. But that's what you can take on the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
These days will be running next till today. And on ThisDay newspaper, IMF questions transparency of federal government $5 billion swap deal with United Arab Emirates, advises government to focus on Eurobond orders to finance deficit. And I'll tell you to get more of that story up on page 6. Let's see if we take some others. Seplat Energy appoints Elumelu chairman, Okon CEO to steer new growth phase. And you can get more of that business story on page 8. Tinubu puts corrupt public officials on notice, says no hiding place for them. Page 5 has more of that story. Well, do we have any other rather than what seems to be on almost all dailies today? And that's the commissioning of, the arterial road, number 5 of Obafemi Awolowo Way from Life Camp Junction to RR3, Dakpe District section. Well, that's the much we can take from ThisDay.
Trust you're having a good time here on Dailies this morning as we look at Daily Trust newspaper. And on Daily Trust, CCA single term push raises elongation fears is a leading one on page 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust. And just like others, is none other than the Renew Hope FCT, talking about the official commissioning of the arterial roads number 5 of Obafemi Awolowo Way from Life Camp Junction to RR3, Dakpe Street section. And you can see right there, our president is inviting all Nigerians today, 10th June 2026, by 12 noon. Well, that's what you can take on Daily Trust this morning.
The Vanguard will indeed be the last paper for us to quickly look at. And on the Vanguard this morning, the lead story reads, Nigeria moving in right direction, says federal government unveils Tinubu scorecard, the Fed's reforms, highlights economic gains, 1 million student loan beneficiaries, tax reforms, anti-graft successes, says it's prepared to be judged by evidence. And you can get more of that evidence on page 5. IMF counsels federal government against $5 billion UAE loan, 6 higher taxes. And page 11 has more of that story. After rescue of 416 captive in Borno, 11 more kidnapped women regain freedom. And that cheering news you can get on page 6. Ref Summon Service Chief, Finance Minister of Security Spending. And page 8 have more of that story. Tony Elumelu, appointed chairman of Seplat Energy, is also on the business part of page 26. And just like every other paper, well, more of the commissioning that will be taking place today around 12 noon. And the FCT minister is telling all of us to come as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu commissions those roads. But anyway, that's the much we can take from all the papers put together. You always would know that I will always implore you to always try and read up the dailies and get more abreast with what seems to be happening. But what is happening now is we'll need to go on that break, pay our commercials, and when we come back, dialogue will take center stage right here on Viewpoint on Atlantic TV.